This is the MGTOW Infinium here with another Infinium Free Talk. This Infinium Free Talk is entitled The False Allegation Ramrod. My brothers, one of the main ongoing assaults against the MGTOW philosophy, which has been going on, which is going on currently, and for the foreseeable future because of feminism will go on until the end of feminism, is the notion that the MGTOW philosophy is a philosophy of fear. It is because of that notion that it is a philosophy of fear that it is also a philosophy that is cult-like in nature. Those who accuse the philosophy of being that type of thing, cult-like, fearful in nature, are those who do not understand objectively who we are as MGTOW men. And if you look at things in a logical manner from the standpoint of you as a MGTOW man being able to critically think, you will see, because of your day-to-day lifestyle as a MGTOW man, that the notion of you, because of you embracing a philosophy of peace and freedom, of you being a cult member, you being a member of a cult, you being a member of a group of men who are fearful, who operate in a distorted dystopian world of fantasy, who operate in a distorted dystopian world of fear, you will see, because of your daily lifestyle, because of your daily walk in freedom, that those notions are baseless and full of fallacies. My brothers, the feminist plantation state, women in general, and those men who criticize the philosophy do not see what we see as men. And they do not see the types of things that can happen to us which can destroy our lives. It is not only we MGTOW men, it is all men because of feminism, my brothers. My brothers, one of the things that can destroy any man's life, again, not just MGTOW men, but all men, the men that criticize the philosophy, is the ability for a woman to make a false allegation against a man, and that man ends up being ramrodded into jail just solely because of that false allegation. Again, when the MGTOW philosophy is criticized, and the criticism is based upon we men being fearful of what our involvement in society in general, and the society being the feminist plantation state, a state which hates we men in every way possible, a state which hates the men that criticize the MGTOW philosophy. Again, my brothers, what we are doing is resisting what can be done to us. And that again is one of the things that happens with women who are given power, whether they are feminists or not, by the feminist plantation state to make a false allegation against a man and have that man be ramrodded into jail, leading to all types of things that happen to him. Anything from loss of income to loss of life, my brothers. My brothers, the false allegation ramrod is a very real process within the feminist plantation state. It is designed to basically put men into jail under any type of false allegation without any sense of justice, without any sense of fairness. Here in a country where it is stated that you are innocent until proven guilty, my brothers. With the false allegation ramrod process, you as a man are guilty. Even if you are proven innocent, you are still guilty under this process, and you will spend any amount of time in jail, which wastes your time. Even when it is proven that you are innocent of that allegation, you will still go to jail for some amount of time, either days, weeks, months, years, decades of your life, my brothers, can be taken away from you because of this process. Now again, when we MGTOW men state that we will not interact with women because of these issues, that is a legitimate cause. It is not cult-like in nature. It is not based upon fear. It is based upon a legitimate threat to to our freedom in every way possible. And as well, the legitimacy of that threat being based upon the actuality of the feminist plantation state and the infrastructure of the feminist plantation state, which makes it possible for men to be ramrodded into jail, no questions asked, just based upon false allegations which have been lodged against him by a woman, which these allegations, again, are not fully investigated. They are basically used as, without question, the evidence that a man has committed a crime against a woman, which leads to him being rammed into jail. No questions asked, my brothers. My brothers, I would like to present to you some content which covers what happened to Mick Patel, a man who was innocently shopping in a Walmart and who innocently asked a woman for the location of Tylenol in that Walmart and wound up in jail because of her false allegations for 47 days just on the basis of her false allegation. The false allegation that she made against Mick Patel was that he tried to abduct one of her children. In the use of this content, I cite fair use policies. Here now is the content.
A man was accused by this woman of attempting to kidnap her child.
Did someone try to take you from Mommy?
Yeah. I was in the Walmart and I had to rip my baby out of some other man's hands because he was trying to snatch him.
Someone trying to snatch your baby?
Yes.
Police say it was this man, 56-year-old Mahendra Patel.
Disaster was narrowly averted, she said.
2-year-old Jude was not hurt, and his sister was unharmed as well, something Miller is grateful for today.
It was a warning to others, she said.
There really are people out here, and then a mile radius of us right now, that have ill intentions, that are targeting people, that are planning to do these things. Just be prepared for it when it does.
But as it turns out, that was actually a lie. But that didn't keep cops and prosecutors from keeping this completely innocent man in jail for 47 days.
Multiple guns being pointed at him. They treated him like a criminal because of the warrant that these defendants in my lawsuit got on him. And then they brought him to the jail. And he spent 47 days there. The old adage is that any decent prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. And that's what happened here. They decided to get him indicted, even though they supposedly couldn't get the video to play.
So this man goes into a Walmart to buy his elderly mother some arthritis medication. Meanwhile, this woman is riding around Walmart on a mobility scooter, even though she's not disabled. Her kids are literally hanging off of it as she just putts around the store. The man can't find what he's looking for, so when he sees this woman, he asks her if she knows where he can find it. Then all hell breaks loose. As I mentioned, this man ends up spending 47 days in jail over what were obviously false accusations. And as it turns out, this may not have been her first time. A lawsuit was just filed. I got the chance to speak to his civil rights attorneys. This is Solomon Radner from Detroit, Michigan, as well as his brother Counsel, who has a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out, where he does deep dives into trials across the country.
There is a individual named Mick Patel. He's based in Georgia, and he was going to a Walmart. He was actually going to pick up some medication for his mother, and he has trouble locating it. He's not usually shopping at Walmart. They usually have these medications on order. It's a very special type of Tylenol. It wasn't just a regular Tylenol. It was specific for maybe his mother who had like severe arthritis or something. It was a special type of Tylenol. He's there out of the blue. He can't really find it. And he finds a lady who he believes is just going to help him find the medication. In fact, you see an interaction between the two of them where he's kind of asking her, hey, where can I find this medication? What aisle should I look into? And at some point you see, and she's on this motorized scooter, which is really designated for the people that are disabled, but she's not disabled, but she's riding it, and she has her kids on her lap, and one of the kids starts to fall off. So he, as a good citizen, as a good person, tries to help save the kid from falling off of the scooter, puts her back on her lap, and she tells him where he can find that medication, where she believes that the medication could be. And then he goes and he gets the medication. He comes back to her. He shows her, hey, look, I found the medication, strolls out of the store, just walking out of the store, pays for it. And that's really the extent of the interaction between these two individuals. Well, little does he know later that this individual goes and reports to the police that he was actually trying to kidnap her child.
Did someone try to take you from mommy?
Yeah.
Over there. And as soon as I did that, that's when he just picked him up out of my arms.
And that's where this whole investigation completely goes off the rails. He gets arrested. He's in jail for like 43 days or something like that. And on these charges of attempted kidnapping.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
I was in the Walmart and I had to rip my baby out of some other man's hands because he was trying to snatch him. The man is gone now, but...
Someone trying to snatch your baby?
Yes.
Okay, and just to confirm, this just occurred, correct?
Yeah, probably now, 30 minutes ago, that's right? Yeah, they're about 30 minutes ago now.
Occurred 30 minutes ago? Okay.
I'm sorry, I would have called sooner, but I had the guy got my baby back.
Okay, yes, ma'am, I understand.
I had to take a moment.
You're okay. I will go ahead and let the officers know, and they will come out there and meet with you, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
The woman calls 911 or whatever she does and reports that somebody had tried to kidnap her child. What happened when the cops arrived?
Cops arrived, talked to her. They watched the video footage of the incident, and that's where this really should have started and ended, unless, of course, they wanted to charge Miss Miller with filing a false police report, which, of course, is a charge, I think, in every state. They chose not to do that. Instead, they chose to go after Mr. Patel. What they did was they took this video footage from Walmart, which is completely exculpatory and proves without question that there was absolutely no attempted kidnapping whatsoever. They took that footage with them, and then they went to a grand jury. And a woman by the name of Temperance Stoddard, I understand is the person who was the main witness there, testified to the grand jury that Mr. Patel tried to kidnap this woman's child. And we have video proof. And supposedly she couldn't get the video to play, which we're all lawyers. We all know that anybody who is involved in law enforcement or litigation or criminal court or any sort of legal business, whatever that field might be, the most important thing you're ever going to play for a jury is going to be a video. Anybody who claims they couldn't get a video to play, I certainly would question that.
Is there a grand jury transcript?
Not that I have yet.
Did you say that she testified to the grand jury that it was on video?
Yes.
And so if there's no transcript, how do we know that?
So obviously I've been doing a little bit of investigation myself. I've been speaking to people who may or may not willing to be on the record just yet. When they are, obviously, I can see if they'll, see how much they're willing to share with whom and whatever. But simply put, the grand jurors themselves are willing to talk. Some of them are willing to talk, and some of them are willing to say what was going through their heads at the time and how damaging it was that this video wouldn't play, because then they just had to go on what was being alleged. And you and I both know that the probable cause standard is super, super, super low. The old adage is that any decent prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. And that's what happened here. They decided to get him indicted, even though they supposedly couldn't get the video to play.
How long after Mr. Patel left Walmart was he arrested? Like, what was the first thing? I mean, everything's fine. He gets his Tylenol. And what was the next thing that happened for him?
It was a few days later that they got the arrest warrant, which was March 21st. March 24th is when he was in his car, driving down the highway, got pulled over at gunpoint at the side of the road. He had no idea what was going on. No clue what was going on.
Walk back, walk back, walk back. Come to me, come to me. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Go down to your knees. Lay down on the ground. Hands up. Hands out of the side. Got him. Don't move. Yeah. You got any weapons on you or anything?
No, of course not.
No? I don't know, man. What's your name, dude?
Mahendra Patel.
Mahendra?
Yes, sir.
Hey, you got a warrant for your arrest. Hold on a minute. Let's take a picture. Okay, thanks.
County mother tells Atlanta News First she lived every parent's worst nightmare after police say someone tried to kidnap her child.
Atlanta News First, Bridget Spencer's live tonight at the Cobb County Jail. Bridget, this happened while they were at a Walmart.
Blair and Carly, this certainly is something this mother would like to forget. Tonight I talked to her and she walked us through those terrifying moments where she thought she was going to lose her child.
Did someone try to take you from Mommy?
Yeah. Nova, of course, wanted to ride the little motorized cart, so that's what we got on, and it actually ended up breaking down. So that's when the man came up to me and asked, do you know where the Tylenol is? And I was like, oh, it's over there. And as soon as I did that, that's when he just picked him up out of my arms.
Miller says she then played a terrifying game of tug of war for about 10 seconds, which felt like an eternity.
And then he just stared at me and then goes, oh, I just wanted to get him out of your lap so you could get up and help me.
Police say it was this man, 56-year-old Mahendra Patel. Ackworth police tracked him down and arrested him after he left the Walmart. 2-year-old Jude was not hurt, and his sister was unharmed as well, something Miller is grateful for today.
There really are people out here in a mile radius of us right now that have ill intentions, that are targeting people, that are planning to do these things. Just be prepared for it when it does.
The attorney who represented him was an attorney named Ashley Merchant. Turns out that she was able to look at those videos, and ultimately she was able to get the case completely dismissed.
Her children are sort of hanging off of this cart, and you see Mr. Patel almost lean in to help. And then moments later, literally split seconds later, she starts to rise to point out the Tylenol. Then within 1 or 2 seconds after that, you see her in a screen laughing with another gentleman.
Now, at the same point, something very interesting that they discovered about this individual, this may not have been the first time that she kind of made up some sort of allegations. There is another instance where she's actually part of a class action lawsuit against Lyft for what she claims was a rape. She claims that a Lyft driver tried to rape her, and as part of this class action lawsuit, that driver, by the way, was initially charged with rape, but pled to disorderly conduct. Not your typical plea deal for someone who's facing, rape charges. And also, once you start looking into that case and you start seeing the details of what she claimed happened in that case, you start to really scratch your head. So, for example, the allegations in that complaint were that this person, this Lyft driver who attempted to rape her, she said that she actually needed to get medication, her asthma medication, before he would conduct the rape. And he was okay with that, apparently. Yeah, sure, just go get your asthma medication. I'll just wait here until you're good and ready. She goes and she claims that he also wanted to take her to a hotel to rape her. And that is similar situation where there may be a lot of embellishing of exactly what happened there.
When you watch the surveillance footage from Walmart, what do you see?
I see a pleasant interaction between a man and a woman with her kids. There is another man just a few feet away who has a follow-up pleasant interaction with that same woman. A few minutes later, after Mr. Patel finds the Tylenol and is leaving the store, he actually goes over to her and says, hey, look, I found it. Here's the Tylenol. And there's another pleasant interaction. And she actually gives him a thumbs up. And then he leaves. And any sane human being who watches this video knows that there was not an attempted kidnapping there. Let me kind of explain what happened next. They get him indicted on very, very serious charges. Georgia has some interesting laws about when discovery has to happen. It doesn't have to happen until much closer to trial. So none of this video was disclosed to the defense attorney. The defense attorney is, in my opinion, probably one of the best defense attorneys in the state of Georgia, Ashley Merchant. She's had a number of cases that had a lot of publicity over the last several years, and she is a tremendous, tremendous attorney. It's a good thing that Mr. Patel is a man of means and is able to afford such excellent representation. I shudder to think of what would have happened if he would have gotten, for example, a public defender. You never know what you're going to get when you get a public defender. They're just worked too thin. She's his lawyer, and she starts demanding the evidence. Prosecutor's not turning it over. So Ms. Merchant starts wondering, what's the deal here? Why aren't they turning this over? They don't have to, but why aren't they? Why wouldn't they do it? So she decides to subpoena the footage directly from Walmart. The prosecutor, and I think this is consciousness of guilt. And when I take the depositions of some of these folks, I plan on really getting into this in a lot of detail. The prosecutor filed a motion to quash that subpoena, which begs the question why. Why didn't they want the defense to see that video? Well, the court overruled that objection, and the court allowed Ms. Merchant to subpoena the footage directly from Walmart. And as soon as she got it, she released it to the public, and there was outrage, absolute outrage, because Mr. Patel spent 47 days in jail when there was this conclusive exculpatory evidence the entire time that the police and prosecutor sat on and let an innocent man sit in jail for 47 days. They ought to be ashamed of themselves for what they did. Frankly, they should be in prison for what they did to this man. That's how outrageous it is.
Is the reason that he was sitting in jail for 47 days because he had a extremely high bond?
It was no bond. He was just kept in jail because the charges were so serious, and he has significant ties out of the country. So the prosecutor went to the judge and said, oh, we can't let this man out. He's a flight risk. If we let him go, he's a dangerous man who likes to kidnap children in Walmart, and then he'll fly away across the world and never come back. They knew it was lies when they said it.
Do we know for a fact that they watched the actual surveillance footage on the day of the incident?
The police report indicates that they reviewed the footage. And what the police reports claim is that the footage supports Miss Miller's version of events.
I mean, how can they watch that footage and then believe that it supports the allegations?
That's going to be the first question I ask the cops during my deposition of them. Every once in a while, I see a case that just makes my head pop. I'll read to you what the police report actually says while they were there at the incident at Walmart. Walmart cameras showed the incident, and Corporal Lumpkin viewed the footage showing what Miller explained. How? That's not what the footage shows. If they would have written the truth in this report, Mr. Patel never would have been charged. Nobody ever would have heard his name. And I certainly never would have filed this lawsuit because he went to spend 47 days in jail.
Is it possible that there's two ways of interpreting what you can see on this sort of grainy surveillance footage?
So I tried to make sense of it. I tried to ask myself, is it possible to watch this and believe that Mr. Patel tried to kidnap this child? The answer is absolutely not. There's too many other things going on. There's another person just a few feet away who doesn't react, not startled. If you try to kidnap a child in a busy Walmart, it's going to be noise. First of all, I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. But I digress. There's another person right there. That other person would react in some way which would support a person who's claiming that their child was just the victim of an attempted kidnapping. But that didn't happen. And then the subsequent interaction of, hey, I found it, thumbs up. That's not how you act, certainly in a public place, when somebody just tried to kidnap your child. It is inconceivable. So I myself, the first few times I watched it, tried to play devil's advocate as well, because obviously as litigators, what we have to do is we have to anticipate what our opposition is going to do, what opposing counsel is going to do, and prepare for it. And I'm sure that that's going to be their argument. I'm sure that they're going to play the footage and say, yeah, that's exactly what Ms. Miller said. That's what we thought was going on. And that's why we put that in the report. But then, and this is why I think consciousness of guilt is so important, why not turn the footage over to the defense? Why try to quash the subpoena from the defense? And then there was another thing that happened, which I didn't even get to yet. They had Mr. Patel's phone. And the prosecutor, or one of the investigators, signed an affidavit and testified to a judge that they needed to get a warrant for the contents of the phone so that they can see what's inside of it, because they had good reason to believe that there was evidence of a kidnapping in the phone, which, again, completely untrue. And I look forward to being able to take this deposition and ask what evidence in the world possibly could have been on this phone and what basis they had to make this claim. I think what was going on was they wanted to get his phone so that they can look through it. And I've had other cops do this in other cases. That's why I think it's probably what happened here. And then find something that he did wrong. If you are charging somebody with crime A and you get access to his hard drive, and then you find some child pornography or some illegally downloaded music or some fraudulent tax returns, there could be all financial crimes. There could be all kinds of things on a phone. And then you can say, oh, well, we got him for this now. And as long as you have a good faith basis, a warrant to get into that phone, you got him, you nailed him. And then you get to protect your own hide. So that's what I think happened there. But again, the consciousness of guilt here, I think, is the strongest thing, because why would they be fighting so hard to not turn over that footage? And why would they dismiss the case as soon as the footage gets publicized?
And there's also one other thing I wanted to just add in, and that is that I believe she went on record saying that there was a 10-second tug of war between her and Mr. Patel over the child. If you look at that video, it's about maybe a second and a half when the child's falling out and he saves the child and gives the child back to the mother. It's about a second and a half. And she, I believe, went on record, did interviews where she's saying that there was this 10 seconds of tug of war.
And I was like, oh, it's over there. And as soon as I did that, that's when he just picked him up out of my arms.
Miller says she then played a terrifying game of tug of war for about 10 seconds, which felt like an eternity.
And then he just strolls through the store, gets the medication, pays for it. No running out, no quickly, let's get out of here, this didn't work out. There's nothing consistent at all with the kidnapping in this case, or attempted kidnapping.
Do you have any idea or theory on why this woman made these allegations?
Absolutely. Same reason she made the allegations in Lyft, for money. You claim something like this happened, then you sue Walmart after there's some sort of plea, and then get some money. That's what my guess would be. I don't know, but she is a named defendant, and I anticipate taking her deposition. I look forward to taking her deposition.
They had not interviewed him prior to arresting him on the side of the road.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is really something, isn't it? And I know that we've seen a lot of police investigations. The first thing the police do when they're dealing with somebody who they think is guilty is they try to get a conviction out of them. They try to get a confession out of them. And that didn't happen in this case. They didn't talk to him. They didn't call him. They didn't say, hey, can you come down? We have some questions for you. They just went and they got a warrant for him, claimed they couldn't play the exculpatory video, which proves his innocence. And then several days later, so we're talking March 18th to March 24th, he's driving down the road, gets pulled over at gunpoint. And again, the cops at the side of the road, they were dealing with a felony warrant. I didn't see anything wrong with the way they arrested him. When you've got somebody who's got a warrant for attempted kidnapping, it's going to be done at gunpoint. That's what's called a felony arrest. And that's just the way it's done. Whether it should be or not is not really the question that I'm going to be litigating. So that's what they did. Multiple guns being pointed at him. They treated him like a criminal because of the warrant that these defendants in my lawsuit got on him. And then they brought him to the jail. And he spent 47 days there until finally, despite the prosecutor and police fighting tooth and nail for the exculpatory video to not end up in the hands of the defense, it did end up in the hands of the defense. And then it ended up in the hands of the court and the public. And the prosecutor really had no choice at that point but to dismiss the case because they knew that there was no way they were going to be able to plead to prove his guilt. What I'm thinking their goal probably was to coerce some sort of plea, just like the case Martin was talking about, where somebody's facing a criminal sexual conduct and then they reduce it to disorderly conduct. I don't care how innocent a person is. If they're facing potentially life in prison and what some would consider worse, life on the sex offender registry, and then somebody comes over and says, here, plead guilty to this parking ticket, which is basically what disorderly person is. I don't care how innocent the person is, how much proof there is, how little proof there is, whether the guy's got 1,000 alibi witnesses and video proof of his innocence. He's not going to want to roll the dice. You never know what a jury's going to do. So what I'm guessing the prosecutor was going to do here is as they got closer and closer to trial, but before they had to produce the video footage, they were going to come with some excellent offer, maybe a misdemeanor assault case of some sort where there's really no problem, nothing on his record, maybe even some sort of deferred sentence. And then that way they get their win and they never have to produce the video footage. But that plan didn't work because Mr. Patel hired an awesome lawyer and that awesome lawyer fought to get the video.
Do you have any theory on why the Ackworth Police Department or whichever investigators were involved, why would they charge your client and prosecute your client in the face of surveillance footage that obviously shows that he did not do what she said?
That's a very good question. And I have a theory. And my theory is that sometimes you get cops who are just bad apples and they don't care whose lives they ruin. And we've seen plenty of examples of that. I like to not live in a world where where that's what was happening here. But another explanation, which I think would really be their best bet when they have their defense attorneys, is that one of confirmation bias, which is they spoke to Miss Miller, she seemed to have a credible story, they believed her, and then at that point, it's almost like the halo effect in the devil horns, that once you hear a story and in your mind you put the halo on one party and devil horns on the other, it doesn't matter at that point what else you see, hear, or learn. You're going to twist it in your own head to make sure that it fits the narrative that you have in your mind. And it could be that that's what happened here. That is the only defense I can come up with for what they did and why they did it. But again, the $1 million question here is, why not play the video to the grand jury? And why fight so hard to make sure the video doesn't get played to the defense? And I can't think of any explanation for either of those things. I think that we may be dealing with some bad apples here.
Did they ever apologize, whether privately or publicly, to Mr. Patel?
Wouldn't that be something? No, they don't do that. I have yet to have a case where anybody apologized, except for one. Let me take that back. There was one where part of the settlement was that he had to get up in court and apologize. I told my client, I'm sure this is going to come with all kinds of buts. And sure enough, it did. But that's the only time I've ever seen a situation resolve where the police knew they did something wrong and actually issued an apology.
Do you know whether they are still maintaining that Mr. Patel did anything wrong?
I have no idea.
So you filed a lawsuit. Has there been any answer filed yet?
Not yet. Not yet. We just got them served several days ago. And I anticipate and look forward to reading what they can possibly come up with as a defense here, and explaining it why they felt the need to file a motion to quash Ms. Merchant's subpoena. I think that and their supposed inability to play the video for the grand jury, I think, are the two most damaging pieces of evidence here against the defendants, against the prosecutor and the police. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing what their answers are as well. I appreciate you talking with me, and I hope you keep me in the loop about what happens in the future.
Okay, absolutely, will do. Thank you. Appreciate it. Always nice talking to you.
My brothers, as you can see, what happened to Mick Patel is, in every sense of the word, outrageous, outlandish, and, quite frankly, despicable in every sense of the word. It is also par for the course for what happens when a man is ramrodded into prison because of a woman's false allegations. Also, what is par for the course is what happened to Mick Patel in terms of what he had to do to overcome this situation, that being expending extraordinary resources to fight a false allegation, which, if initially was investigated properly, he would have been cleared of those charges. And Caroline Miller, who falsely accused him, would have been dealt with properly. But my brothers, what happened to Mick Patel and what happened with Caroline Miller is par for the course. It is the norm, not the exception. And if Mick Patel was not a man of means where he could fight this despicable action against him, he would be still in jail, and he would be in a lot of trouble, so to speak, even though he is innocent of what Caroline Miller accused him of. There is also the despicable nature of everything being done to ramrod Mick Patel into jail and nothing being done to Caroline Miller, who is a repeat offender, who has 20 prior interactions with the police, one of which can be found to be a false allegation against a man. In doing the research for this content, and as of the date of this content being published, there is no evidence of Caroline Miller being charged with filing a false allegation, which is perjury, being arrested, spending any time in jail, any type of bond being placed upon her, any type of restriction, any type of court date. Nothing, my brothers, has been done to Caroline Miller. Again, Caroline Miller, because of her false allegation and because of the interaction of the police and prosecutors, caused Mick Patel to be ramrodded into prison for 47 days and caused Mick Patel to expend great great resources to prove his innocence. Nothing has been done to Caroline Miller. And my brothers, again, despicably, that is par for the course for what happens when a woman falsely accuses a man of any type of interaction, SA, DV, child abduction, etc. It is par for the course, my brothers. My brothers, you must understand fundamentally why little or nothing will be done to Caroline Miller and why everything was done to Mick Patel to try to imprison him, to try to wreck his life. And that is fundamentally the feminist plantation state. The infrastructure of the feminist plantation state is designed to make money off of our backs as men. And so that is everything from enslavement to imprisonment. So in other words, my brothers, there is no profit in a woman being incarcerated, and there is great profit in a man being incarcerated. And that is why you will see situations like Crystal Mangum, who falsely accused Duke lacrosse players of SA and later murdered her boyfriend when it was proven that the Duke lacrosse players were innocent of what Crystal Mangum accused them of. Crystal Mangum should have stayed in jail for a very, very long time, but she is now being released on parole. That is why you will see things like that. Again, there is no incentive monetarily to incarcerate women, and that's why you will see Caroline Miller not being charged, not being arrested, nothing happening to her, because again, there is no incentive on the part of the feminist plantation state to deal with women like Caroline Miller, like Crystal Mangum, etc., my brothers. But there's every incentive to incarcerate innocent men like Mick Patel, try to destroy their lives, wreck their lives, cause them to spend extraordinary resources to prove their innocence when indeed their innocence could be proven immediately by, for instance, if when the police looked at the surveillance footage from the Walmart where Mick Patel was shopping in, with the purpose of properly investigating Caroline Miller's allegation, it would have been proven that he was falsely accused of attempted child abduction. But no, they did not. And the reason, my brothers, is again, it boils down to there is incentive to incarcerate men, innocent men, off of false allegations, which are not proven, not investigated into, because of, again, the profit involved with incarcerating men. And my brothers, this is why you must understand that the false allegation Ramrod process is something that is very, very real. It is very detailed in nature in terms of what can happen to you if you get ramrodded into prison because of a false allegation. It is a systematic process of blatant persecution of men, which is highly detailed, involves technology, involves lying, involves perjury, my brothers, all again to ramrod innocent men into prison off of a false allegation for the purpose of making money off of their backs. As you saw in the content, Mick Patel was shown on the Walmart security footage acting in a normal manner. He was not in any manner trying to abduct one of Caroline Miller's children. And in fact, he was having a normal interaction with a person who he thought would help him find Tylenol in the Walmart where he was shopping. And because of that interaction, and because of Caroline Miller targeting him and then falsely accusing him of attempted child abduction, he became targeted, he became hunted down, he was thrown into prison for 47 days with no bond because of the critical nature of his charges and him being allegedly a flight risk. As you can see in the content, where it was proven initially and the police had evidence, the prosecutors had evidence of Mick Patel being innocent. They chose to keep him in prison, chose to proceed with trying to charge him with attempted child abduction, and also look to an alternative method, and that was trying to get access to his cell phone, trying to look through whatever possessions he had on him at the time of his arrest to find some alternative means to charge him with something anything to convict him with something if the charge of attempted child abduction failed. They also tried to suppress the video evidence which would prove that Mick Patel was fully innocent of what he was accused of, my brothers. All of that is a part of a detailed process of ramrodding, of trying to keep men in prison, trying to ramrod men into prison solely because of false allegations for the purpose, again, of making money off of their backs, my brothers. When it comes to the false allegation ramrod process, there is no consideration of a man's innocence. It is, again, automatically guilty, automatically hunted down, automatically arrested, automatically thrown into jail. And depending on the nature of the false allegation, there could either be high bond or no bond at all. And my brothers, if unlike Mick Patel, you didn't have the resources to fight this type of thing, you would be in trouble in every way possible. It could be years in prison because of these types of things. Your whole life destroyed. Everything that you worked for destroyed. Everything, my brothers. Again, this is why we MGTOW men should avoid interactions with women. Because again, Mick Patel innocently interacted with a woman and he wound up being thrown into prison, thrown into a nightmare scenario where if he did not have the resources to fight this type of thing, he would have been still in jail, in my opinion. My brothers, another component of the false allegation ramrod is what the feminist plantation state is having difficulty in dealing with, and that is the now out of control narcissism which is prevalent among women. And within that contingent of narcissistic women, there is also the contingent of women who are malignant narcissists, my brothers. My brothers, the feminist plantation state is having difficulty at best dealing with the out of control narcissism, which is a result of feminism and what feminism has done to women. So that being the case, when it comes to, again, the false allegation ramrod process, women, because of feminism, because of what feminism is doing to them in terms of narcissism, have free range and power in terms of initiating the false allegation ramrod process. Now, if you look specifically at Caroline Miller. Caroline Miller is a mentally unstable woman, in my opinion. Look at the aspects of what happened with the interaction with Mick Patel. Caroline Miller used her children, who are in their formative years, as a part of the weaponization process in terms of the false allegation ramrod process. So in other words, my brothers, Caroline Miller used her children as a part of the lie in terms of the false allegation ramrod process, which, because of the nature of her false allegation, attempted child abduction, Mick Patel was again ramrodded into jail with no bond for 47 days, had evidence of his innocence suppressed both by the police and the prosecutors who came after him, for the purpose of again keeping him in jail and for the purpose of again making money off of his back. Now, when you consider what Caroline Miller did, again, her children are in their formative years. They are learning the difference between right and wrong, the difference between falsely accusing somebody and telling the truth about somebody. Again, nothing is being done to Caroline Miller in terms of her parenting, in terms of how she is treating those children, how she is weaponizing those children in terms of what she is doing. It is Caroline Miller who needs to be in jail. It is Caroline Miller who needs to be dealt with in terms of how she is raising her children, my brothers. It is Caroline Miller who is using the great powers afforded to her by the infrastructure of the feminist plantation state, thereby allowing her to successfully ramrod an innocent man into prison for the purpose of money being made off of his back, my brothers. Again, it should be considered that in the false allegation Ramrod process, there is a component of mental instability. There's a component of lying. There's a component of perjury, all types of things which get this process initiated and in many cases is successful in ramrodding men into prison for any amount of time, from days to years of their lives, my brothers. My brothers, the interaction between Mick Patel and Caroline Miller should have been just an innocent interaction with two people in a store. But instead, it turned into a nightmare for a man who was fully innocent of what a woman falsely accused him of. My brothers, Mick Patel should not live under that type of specter. That if you innocently talk to a woman, innocently ask a woman for help in the store, innocently say hello to a woman, that you wind up in prison. You wind up with charges of SA, DV, attempted child abduction, anything and everything under the sun. Mick Patel should not live under that type of specter. And my brothers, nor should you as MGTOW men. And again, this is the very reason, my brothers, we should as MGTOW men watch every interaction with women in this hour. My brothers, it is very, very dangerous in terms of what is going on within the feminist plantation state right now. And my brothers, more so than watching our interactions with women, we must begin to push back against this oppression. Why, again, when there is evidence of your innocence, should that evidence be suppressed? Should that evidence be withheld? Why should it take overwhelming resources? Why should it take all these types of things? Why should there be any type of nature where you are automatically hunted down as a man off of a false allegation? There should be automatic investigation into the allegation before these types of things happen. If the allegation is true, then yes, of course, prosecute. Yes, of course, hunt down and find the offender. But my brothers, the norm is the false allegation ramrod. And this is being done because, again, it is necessary to make money off of our backs. And there is no capability to make money off of the backs of women. So again, you have this scenario where Mick Patel gets everything thrown at him, but Caroline Miller gets nothing done to her. My brothers, that is unacceptable. And it is, again, foundationally why we must watch our interactions with women. And it is foundationally why we must begin to push back against this stuff, because it is outright persecution of men. Even the men who criticize the MGTOW philosophy, who call the MGTOW philosophy a cult, who call MGTOW men losers. This affects all men. All men can have this happen to them. And my brothers, again, we must not tolerate this type of thing anymore. And the only way is to, again, watch our interactions with women and begin to push back against these things. Because my brothers, again, we are free men. We deserve the right to go into a Walmart, go into any type of store, walk in the park, and not have our lives critically affected by a false allegation when we are fully innocent, my brothers. My brothers, again, this is one of the reasons why we are MGTOW men, and why, again, the MGTOW philosophy is a philosophy that saves our lives in every way possible. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium Free Talk. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.